Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. I'm Alex Dunlap here, of course, with the Trashman for the Week 10 waiver wire edition of the podcast. Trashman, what the hell's going on with you, brother?
Just sleeping off got off of sleeping off a nice Hot Springs visit yesterday evening.
Hot Springs, like Arkansas?
No, it's Otine.
Huh.
It's like south. It's like south of here. It's like an hour. It's like a little private hot springs.
Why do you have to sleep that off? I thought that going to the hot springs, wouldn't that be like restful and enjoyable?
I mean, I know. I mean, it makes you sleepy.
Yeah. All right. We got Michael Y in the chat.
You know, getting my Powerball numbers.
I looked at. I never buy that stuff. I bought it. I bought it yesterday though. My wife says. My wife says we didn't win.
$1 billion.
Yeah, my wife says we didn't win. I mean, they asked me They asked me at the counter if I wanted one, and I said, "Well, shit. If I say no now, and somehow this lady sells it to the next person." All right. So just a couple quick reminders, man. If you guys can, please leave a rating and a review in Apple Podcasts. We keep getting asked for that. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please give a thumbs up, leave a comment, do whatever to help with the algorithm. Speaking of the algorithm, the algo for the premium members over at RosterWatch.com, the algo last week, Trashman, what do you think about this? 7-4-2 this last week. So if you bet with the algo for every pick, you would have only lost 4 games out of 13. So that's Mr. Can't Miss Mitch. You can look into that if your season somehow is tanking in fantasy and you need to get some kind of action, man. Gambling on these games is fun as hell. Hopefully all of
Jonathan Taylor owner.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh man. So do you want to talk about that to start? What do you think about Jim Irsay going in there, firing Frank Reich, and then bringing on Jeff Saturday as the new head coach?
I don't see the point it was, unless it was Reich who lobbied to get Matt Ryan in there or something, and he's just irked about that. But I don't really see. I think it's a personnel thing. I mean, on field, and I don't know how much Frank Reich was in charge of that, but.
Do you think that because this actually kind of pertains to the waiver wire, do you think that they're going to, now that they're tanking? Because, this is obviously tanking, right? You bring in Jeff Saturday as a damn head. He was an ESPN studio analyst this time last week. I was listening to the Pro Football Doc podcast earlier today, and just to get caught up on some of the injuries and stuff. And Jeff Saturday couldn't make his weekly appearance on the pod that he was supposed to do with ESPN. Because he's now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. It's so wild. So it sounds like they're going to stick with Sam at quarterback. I think better days are ahead for Sam Ehlinger, but boy, man, that thing versus New England was definitely tough.
Yeah, if you got Taylor or Pittman, it's tough sledding.
Yeah, and we have some questions. So at the end of the podcast, we will talk about players we can drop. We've gotten some questions about some of these Indianapolis players. But so with Taylor, do you think that now what they're going to do is they're going to say, look, we're not going to rush him back. Irsay is going to say, man, that's our bread and butter. This offensive line is actually good. Something went wrong with the coaching this year. Something went wrong with getting all the guys in the continuity. We know we have that offensive line. We have guys like Quentin Nelson locked up. We need Jonathan Taylor running behind him as we move into the future of whatever this team is. I worry a little bit about if they're going to really take their time with Taylor. The question was, Deion Jackson got a little bit banged up in the last game. So I think that brings maybe Jordan Wilkins into the periphery of consideration on waivers.
Phil Lindsay, maybe. I do think though that the AFC South is still winnable.
Not for Jeff Saturday to coach Sam Ehlinger team.
I don't know how they view it, but Texans are terrible.
Dude, it's not winnable as long as Vrabel is the coach of the Titans. If you're the Colts, Mike Vrabel versus Jeff Saturday. Talk about it
in an arm wrestling match. I think Saturday has a chance there.
I don't. I'm not sure he does. He's lost a lot of weight. He looks a lot more puny than he used to look. Vrabel would you would take Saturday in an arm wrestling match over Vrabel?
I mean, he's got that dad strength. You
don't think Vrabel has dad strength? He was one of the biggest alphas in the NFL.
He was arguably the best center in the NFL when he was playing.
Michael Y, a member of the Banana Hammock Boys, great RosterWatch listener league. He's asking Dawson Knox, drop Dawson Knox for Cole Kmet. He's dropping Hurst for Kmet since he's on bye. Also picked up Fields on the same team for Burrow's bye. Well, good job picking up Fields.
Yeah, I don't care who's your tight end if you got Fields then.
Yeah, man, just Fields is. What if Odell Beckham goes to the Bears?
Oh, that'd be sick.
Wouldn't you love that for Fields? Maybe give him a little something. God, he's looked so good.
It's like he might go to my boys though.
Yeah. Well, really? Is that been the talk?
I don't know. Jerry says he looked good in the Cowboys uniform.
Okay, so let's look at what the bye weeks coming up are, because I had them pulled up, but it's worth mentioning whenever we get to this spot, not only because people are probably going to ask about some trades and stuff like that in the questions, but also, you need to be considering who has buys coming up whenever whenever you're making these pickups, and you have to always consider, well, am I making the pickup for now, or am I making it this week? Because, dude, if you're sitting at 4 and 5, certainly if you're 3 and 6, every week is must win now, right? Every week is must win. Basically, the Mason-Dixon line for making your fantasy football playoffs are going to be usually 6 losses in a 12-team league. Trashman. We've sometimes seen people creep in with 7.
I don't know, with this extra game this season. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe you could get in with a 7.
I think even last year with the extra game, man, and most of the 12-team competitive leagues I played in, it was like that 6 game. It's like a 6.5 loss kind of thing.
I know I've definitely gotten into the playoffs in one of our leagues with a 6 and 7 before.
Yeah, probably went on to win the damn thing. This week we have the Ravens on bye, we have the Bengals on bye, the Patriots on bye, the Jets on bye. I had an interesting question, and this is probably something we could talk about later, but I had an interesting question about one of our users asking if he could drop Nick Folk this week. I'm like, man, he's been really good. I looked him up. It looks like he's with the 3rd best kicker in fantasy. It got to the point where I was like, I said, let me look into it a little bit more. Let's get the waiver wire cheat sheet up, and I'll get back to him. But definitely tough. As far as dropping Dawson Knox for Kmet,
Kmet, he's pretty. I think he's going to be pretty touchdown dependent.
Yeah, and with Justin Fields, so much of that work was done on the ground this last week. I mean, it was a groundbreaking game. And here's the thing: the guy, it wasn't in the most orthodox way of doing it, or is it was unorthodox, right? The way that he kept them in that game, that 32-35 loss. But he did get him down the field and get him into scoring position, and that's where Kmet's going to thrive. I don't know if the matchup's going to be as good every week. That was a really good matchup for Kmet on the RosterWatch matchup tool. They clearly have a good connection though on those kind of 3rd down situations and those red zone situations. With Dawson Knox, Dawson Knox is done. I think he's done with his bye.
The Ravens don't have bye this week, do they?
Yeah. So this week it's the Ravens, the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Jets.
The move for Kmet, I don't hate it.
To me, it just feels like if you have a feeling about it and you want to, the Bears do have a week 14 bye, and Dawson Knox will probably get picked up in a competitive 12-team league. So just something to keep in mind there. Again, if you guys have questions, let us know. He's asking if there's any news about, I guess Elijah Mitchell. I talk, he might be going to season-ending. That certainly isn't what I heard. I heard, isn't Elijah Mitchell been designated to return? They've opened, last I checked, they'd opened up the 21-day window on him. So, when he does come back, clearly it'll be in a role that's not anything like the role was before Christian McCaffrey got to town.
Yeah,
but he'll certainly be somebody who I wouldn't be interested in dropping him at this point, because I want to see how those roles play out. What if San Francisco says, look, we got Christian McCaffrey to give us that final push. Let's do our best to keep him healthy. And we know that Shanahan has no problem deploying a frustrating committee. We also know that, knock on wood, man, McCaffrey, all Trashman's worries about McCaffrey's health should have been about Jonathan Taylor this year. I mean, he's been pretty healthy, but certainly he hasn't been a guy that's been a picture of health throughout his career. And clearly Elijah Mitchell with no Christian McCaffrey.
I don't see any news on Mitchell.
Right. Becomes an excellent
on season ending, getting sent to season ending.
Yeah. Clearly, Mitchell actually in a handcuff kind of capacity now is a lot more valuable if Christian McCaffrey goes down because of Jeff Wilson. And that takes us into the running back pickups. The biggest pickup of the week, the most important pickup of the week is Jeff Wilson. If you saw him in this last game and you just looked by the eyeball test with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, those guys basically played an even number of snaps. It was a 50-50. I think it was 49%, 47% as far as the snap percentages for those guys. I think, let me pull it up. I got to pull up the old school game log here because the snap counts, targets, and touches tool does not go live on RosterWatch until a little bit later today. And so we're kind of doing this a little bit in the old-fashioned way. So, 47% for Raheem Mostert to where's 49% for Jeff Wilson. And then as far as I know that in the target department, Jeff Wilson had 3 targets. He caught all 3 balls. I want to look and see what I'm having a little bit more. Raheem Mostert had 2 targets, did not catch any of them. As far as the rushing attempts, each of these guys had 9 rushing attempts. Jeff Wilson, 9 for 51, 5.7 yard average. Raheem Mostert, 9 for 26, 2.9 yard average. He did have the touchdown on the ground, whereas Jeff Wilson had the 1 touchdown through the air. So, look, Jeff Wilson looks like he's going to be a big part of the committee. I think the 1A of the committee. They didn't, he knows Mike McDaniel's offense. He's going to be a viable fantasy piece in your flex moving forward. You need to pick him up. Trashman, you said 30% of your free agent budget seemed high to you. To me, it's like at this point, if you're going to the waiver wire and you need a running back, I don't think that's. I think that's perfectly fine. I think if it's a guy you need, and you have some horrible situation right now. We had somebody, Dennis Connie, asking in the chat if he can drop Deion Jackson. I think we probably need to wait till we hear a little bit more about the specifics of his injury. And it's going to be hard to get the specifics of his injury because later today, when we get the press conference with Jeff Saturday, it's not going to be asking about Deion Jackson. It's going to be asking what the hell you do. What do you plan on doing as coach? It's going to be tough, man. We're going to need some reporting from the Indianapolis beat about that. I wouldn't drop him just yet. If you have to for waivers tonight, I would just wait till the very latest possible to be able to do that and wait for a little bit more information on him. So we have Wilson in sort of a tier above the rest of these guys. Trashman, you want to talk about some of the other pickups? I guess the only other one that I wanted to touch on before that would be Rachaad White. We had this report come out of the Tampa Bay Times earlier today about how Rachaad White actually had to console Leonard Fournette on the sidelines about how he was used in that 10-play game-winning drive for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And to me, that's weird that Rachaad White's having to go over there saying, hey, Lenny, man, like don't get down. We need you. It's, they're definitely, I'll never forget back in like week 1 or week 2, these guys were on Sunday Night Football, and Chris Collinsworth kept saying, and he'd been in production meetings all week with the Bucks, and Rachaad White gets in there. And he's like, 29, Rachaad White. Like they talk him up like throughout the course of the season. You're going to see him get more and more involved, like all this stuff. He was also one of the guys that I forgot who said this, but there was one of these deals where Adam Schefter was on a podcast and talk about fantasy. People always ask him his sleepers because he's an insider, and he knows what some of these teams are saying. And one of his sleeper picks for the year was Rachaad White, who they said that they wanted to work in through the course of the season. It feels like now, Rachaad White and Lenny Fournette, it's still a 65-35-ish split, but Rachaad White's getting in good situations. Leonard Fournette's certainly falling off. And Rachaad White simply just at this point needs to be owned. I know Tampa Bay looks terrible. And neither
one of them looked great in this last game, but Rachaad White his touches have increased over the past 3 games.
So we have some questions here. So Michael Y is saying that he has no, he said, I have Mostert and Wilson. Who should I play? Hey, Michael, just wait for our rankings to come out. We haven't made the matchup tool yet. We'll get that once our API updates here around 11 a.m. Eastern. So that'll be pretty soon. So just keep an eye on our rankings. We'll get those up. My initial lean is to play Jeff Wilson. He looks better to me, and I think that they, whenever they saw what Chase Edmonds was and they saw Raheem Mostert was, they're like, shit, we have 2 guys here that are complementary backs. We need to get somebody to bang around.
Situation though, if your trade deadline hasn't passed, I'd try to ship one of them. But
okay, speaking of trades, Jonathan Wu asks, "Is Josh Palmer a trade or a hold? If you can trade him, I mean, trade him. Josh Palmer is not going to be worth a hill of beans once Mike Williams and Keenan Allen get back. You know, if you can trade him, trade him. If you can get any value for him, but for now, I would certainly hold until we know." So we know what the situation is with Keenan Allen, and we know that Mike Williams is going to be out for at least another couple of weeks. And Josh Palmer only plays, 17% of his routes out of the slot, whereas Keenan Allen plays over 65% of his routes out of the slot. They play different positions on the field. And so that's why whenever Keenan Allen goes out, it's always interesting to play DeAndre Carter, whereas when Mike Williams is out, it's more interesting to play Joshua Palmer. Yeah. Those guys just play different positions on the football field. So Randy Miller is asking Daniel Jones or Jared Goff or Dalton this week. We don't have the rankings up yet. Like I said, we're still waiting for our API to come in. We're having to do the podcast a little bit early today. So not exactly flying, blind, but I don't have the matchup tool up. In our premium section, I think in the premium download section, I think we have the matchups up. So I could look there and give a guess. Off the top of your head, Trashman, do you even know who the Giants are? I mean, my initial lean
is to
Daniel Jones. Okay. Okay. So Giants this week are playing Houston. Oh God, they're playing Houston at home. Yeah, man, I'll play Daniel Jones versus Houston. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to. That's what I say there. Other than those 2 guys, man, Alexander Madison's always interesting to pick up. If you can just kind of handcuff Dalvin Cook and handcuff that whole deal.
Strictly as a handcuff right now.
Yeah, well, it just depends.
Isaiah Spiller seems slightly interesting. 7-8 touches this past week. He looks like the number 2 in LA.
And he's good, right? And he's good. He's going to be good. He's better than Sony Michel. He's better than, he's going to. Isaiah Spiller was always, as we said, even with the terrible testing, everything that he did coming out of Texas A&M looking so bad, right? As far as the combine, as far as the pro day, all the rest of it, we said that he's gonna at some point he's gonna render guys like Josh Kelly and Larry Roundtree useless, and it happened with Larry Roundtree back before the season even started. So yeah, Spiller is interesting. Where's the damn tool, man? I'm trying to get. Oh, here's the downloads. Did Bruce get this thing uploaded yet? Waiver wire cheat sheet. Looks like it still says week 9 on here, so I'm not sure he got it up just yet. Let's see. Hold on. Waiver wire cheat sheet week 10. Okay, so he did get it up. You have. What do we make of Tyler Algier and stuff?
He still got good touches and he was efficient on those touches.
I feel like his snap counts are going to start going down.
I don't think they want that, though.
They definitely want to run the football. And maybe they try and keep Cordero Patterson healthy. I think if you have a chance to sell Tyler Algier, it would be an excellent time to do it right now. I'm not sure. You think it's Caleb Huntley that kind of takes the biggest hit here with Cordero coming back?
I think so.
Okay.
For sure.
So, yeah, go to the waiver wire cheat sheet. Check out how we have all of these guys ranked. Let's move over to wide receiver. And the only guy that we have up there in the same tier is Jeff Wilson Jr. If he's still available in your league, will be George Pickens. And I know he had the bad week 8, but coming off a bye this week, I think week 8 he got us a goose egg, right, Trash Man?
Yeah.
I'm not going to forget about that. But Chase Claypool has been traded to the Bears, right? Chase Claypool, if you look back to weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8, over the course of those 4 games, Chase Claypool had 28 targets. So that's what, 7 targets a game that are opening up. And Trash Man, I don't know about you. I don't think they're going to be going to guys like, Miles Boykin or I'm trying to who like I'm probably pull up the snap counts tool from a few, who else was even getting snaps before the bye? Gunnar Olszewski. They're not going to. Those targets aren't going to. You know what I mean? They're not going to go to
Pat
these.
Fryerman gets a few more.
Steven Sims. Well, I mean, here's the thing. George Pickens before that 3-target game was always getting you 6, 7 targets a game. Yeah. If he just picks off 2 of those 7 targets per week from Claypool,
we're talking about double-digit targets a game.
Yes, we're talking about a guy that's trending. We're talking a guy that's trending towards double-digit targets per game, who's a sick, filthy animal, like a filthy animal. And there is a Pickett to Pickens connection. There simply is. So if George Pickens is available, we could be talking about a guy that's on the clear periphery of being a perennial top 24 wide receiver 2-ish type contributor for you for the rest of the season. That I'd say that's probably that's probably on the slightly more optimistic side of the median as far as what we can expect. But given George Pickens' pedigree and what we know about him as a player, just pick him up if he's available in your league. Jeff Wilson, George Pickens, that's sort of the big names here. I'll let you sort of go through here and talk about. I had to get Rondale Moore up from where you had him.
He was still in that. He was in that tier. He was in that same tier.
Look, just before you go with that, Dennis Connie's asking another problem. I have the Pats. I never carry 2 defenses, but I can't drop the Pats. I think it's fine. Look, I was talking earlier about I didn't know what to tell a person earlier about dropping Nick Folk. I think it's if you have somebody you can slot in that position every week and just not have to worry about it and not play the waiver wire free agency game with streaming kickers and defenses. Like take 2 weeks ago, for example, whenever Philly went on by, it's like you looked at Philly's schedule moving forward and you said, well, I can't be dropping Philly. I think it's fine.
So he's considering dropping Deion Jackson so it can keep the Pats, I think is.
I wouldn't do that till I found out that Deion Jackson, Deion, man, just here's what I do. I would ping my favorite indie sports writer and say, hey, man, at this Jeff Saturday press conference, ask about Deion Jackson, please. Don't ask about it about what he's going to do with the team or anything.
He's got McCaffrey, Gibson, Mitchell, Carter. I think he can.
Oh, okay.
I think
that's fine. That's fine. You can hold on to him. Talk about some of these other wide receivers, Trash Man. And if you guys have questions in the chat about guys you want to know whether or not you can drop, I guess we've already answered the Deion Jackson one, but I have a list here from questions that I've gotten, and I'm going to go through them with Trash Man here once we get through the rest of these.
It's interesting. Kadarius Toney only 2 targets, but it was his first game. Mecole Hardman, I was just looking at his stat lines. 4 of the last 5 games, he's gotten double-digit fantasy points. It's pretty interesting how sneaky good Mecole Hardman has been.
How sneaky good has Juju been, man?
Pretty good.
But Matt Kelly and Cody, they put out that tweet saying that he's the new Cooper Kupp. I don't quite agree with that, man. But his usage has been pretty good recently. So yeah, things ticking up for those guys. I think the Kadarius Toney fits a special role for that Andy Reid offense. And so
I don't think there's a player with more potential upside in the receiver position right now that you can pick up. Terrace Marshall, I like. I don't know.
Here's the thing.
His connection might have been with PJ Walker. I don't know if it's.
Well, but they're PJ. Didn't they say that PJ Walker is going to get? Didn't they say he's going to get the start this week maybe or something? I know he's benched in that last game, but I thought I saw an alert earlier. Let me just check and see. Talk about some of these other guys, and I'll find it about PJ Walker. You guys might have seen it in chat, but let me look it up.
And yes, I am spry, Michael. Very spry. Odell Beckham. I mean, he hasn't gotten picked up yet, but I feel like he's another wide receiver whose upside you can't really get from a lot of other players. So I think he's somebody, if you have a deep bench, you probably need to roster him now. After that, I mean, Zay Jones, it's interesting. Zay Jones is like top 5 in like snap count for receivers. It's crazy. He's not producing
because all Lawrence does is look at Christian Kirk on third downs. It's like,
but if you're just looking at his usage, it's pretty insane.
PJ Walker is going to start this week on Thursday versus the Falcons, per all the reporting from the local beat.
Okay, well then, yeah, I like Terrace Marshall.
Baker likes Terrace Marshall. I think I think the PJ Walker stuff is awesome news for DJ Moore. Like, he just targets the dickens out of him. Zay is top 5 in levitation. It's true, man. That's levitation, Holmes. He's top 5 in dropping his pants and trying to jump out of hotel windows too. Okay, and then other wide receivers. I like Rondale. I like Wandale. Jahan Dotson is available, I think, in 55% of leagues now, or something like that. He's been dropped. Yeah. He's gonna be back this week. I don't know what they love Heineke there in Washington. I think that he really, he's good for Terry McLaurin. We're still yet to see what he'll do for a guy like Jahan Dotson. But I think that he's certainly worth picking up. And then we've mentioned before, Jamison Williams, at some point it's going to happen. So if you're at the team that's, 7-2.
Treylon Burks coming back, I think he's another guy who in PPR formats.
Yeah, right at the top of that sort of sneaky, maybe up to 10% of your budget tier. But yeah, you can go to RosterWatch and get the waiver wire cheat sheet and go see all that stuff. All right, Trashman, the only tight end that I wanted to talk about was Greg Dulcich.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's now through his bye, and he's sick.
I mean, I don't know. I guess if Mark Andrews comes back, I guess likely he's not.
Baltimore's on bye.
I know.
He's going to come back, and this is the perfect time for Mark Andrews to get healthy. They held him out so they can get through the bye and have him come back completely healthy for this.
If for some reason, though, he isn't. I mean, likely he's fired.
Dude, likely could be. I mean, now that Rashad Bateman's out for the season, likely could just line up sort of outside as a flex tight end. He's probably one of their best receiving options. I mean, he's probably a better receiving option than James Prochet.
Yeah.
He's probably right around the same sort of skill level as a DeMarcus Robinson or something. He's not a Duvernay. So, but he could be their third best receiving option on the team behind Duvernay and Andrews. I don't think
he's worth adding if you got the bench.
Now, what is the third best receiving option worth on that kind of team?
Well, he's catching touchdowns.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, dude. Like, I love I love Likely. We all love Likely. Cade Otton, though, I think I would prefer to pick him up with the usages he's gotten.
Break's coming back.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it matters. Cade Otton's a genie why put it back in the bottle? He's Otton's good. He's out there earning targets, man. Like, he's actually good. Alex KS, 12-team PPRs. QBs are Murray and Watson. Running backs are Chubb, Mixon, Cook, and Akers. His wide receivers are Higgins, Olave, Curtis Samuel, Rondale Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Paris Campbell. A.J. Dillon was dropped. Which two guys and use the number 3 waiver? So
Campbell?
Yeah, you drop Paris Campbell. Why do you need to drop 2
I drop
guys?
Akers, but
why do you need to drop 2 to pick up A.J. Dillon? I don't understand. Yeah. Why do you need to drop 2 to pick up A.J. Dillon? I mean, definitely Paris Campbell. And then I think, do you just not want to drop Donovan Peoples-Jones because he's been good and Deshaun Watson's coming back soon? And
I just hate Cam Akers.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop Akers just yet, dude. I think he's trying to kind of kiss and make up. Michael Wise asking if I'm really trying to sing Genie in a Bottle. Michael Y. You got to rub me the right way to get that done, son. All right. So the tight end stuff, Conklin, Tanyan, a little bit of a letdown. He got hurt too, so keep an eye on that. Disley, all guys you could consider. You have Daniel Jones here at the very top. I guess that had to do with the Houston matchup as far as quarterbacks. Talk about these quarterbacks, and we will.
It's time to get Deshaun Watson on your.
Hold on. Did Tony go to IR? Hold on. Let me see. Yeah. Hold on. Monday, November 1st. This is from a long time ago. Tanyan IR. 6. Okay. If anybody has confirmation that Robert Tanyan is on IR, let me know. Is that what he's saying?
I don't know if that's what he's referring to. I think he's dropping 2 guys.
Oh, geez, man, you guys are freaking me out. Like I'm just I'm not able to keep up with the news or something. I don't think Tanyan's on IR. I think this guy's talking about the IR slot on his roster. It's like, geez, man, the whole world's not about you, Alex K. Okay. No, I'm just kidding, man. We definitely love you guys. All right, Trash Man. Here we go. The list. I have all of them written down. People have been asking me questions. I actually do it on an old school sheet of paper, just like this. I'm going to go from top to bottom. Can you drop Julio Jones?
Yes.
Somebody's asking me. He's coming back. They're saying that he's going to practice this week.
You can drop him. I mean, if you're getting
no. You can drop Julio Jones. There's not enough targets to go around there. Chuba Hubbard for, say, Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, for Jeff Wilson. I mean,
Okay.
Raheem Blackshear looked pretty good.
Van Jefferson, Mr. Double Donut himself. Last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Caleb Huntley.
Yeah.
Alec Pierce.
Yeah.
And a Jeff Saturday, Sam Ellinger offense.
I mean, you could really drop anybody off that team right now.
Well, would you drop Pittman?
I mean, I probably wouldn't.
Okay. Isaiah Pacheco?
No.
Sammy Watkins.
Starter.
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
This is where it starts getting tough. Romeo Dobbs. That's probably not tough. He's going to IR probably. He has a high ankle sprain. I think he actually did go to IR. You're not going to keep Romeo Dobbs for 4. You're going to keep Romeo Dobbs till the fantasy playoffs and then start him.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson. This is where it starts getting tough. Brian Robinson looks absolutely as we told you he would look. Not good.
No, I'm just not dropping him yet.
Brandon Cooks.
No.
Eno Benjamin.
Yep.
Really?
I mean, unless it's as a handcuff. I mean, look at his.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like feels like Connor's going to get nicked up again, and
probably. But I mean, could you drop Chase Edmonds when he was on the, he was the backup to Connor? Yeah.
You have to give a real answer this week, Trash Man, with the second to last one, the penultimate one. You can't cop out like last week. Drake London. This guy really wants to drop Drake London.
You can drop him. I mean, he still led the team in targets, was tied for the league with Pitts in targets this past week.
He doesn't have a very good connection with Marcus Mariota. And ever since those 2 games, I believe in week 2 and week 3, it's been curtains for Drake London.
Well, if Mariota, if they drop him as the quarterback, then maybe there's some potential there for a comeback. But
so you're saying you can drop him. You wouldn't drop him, but you can if you feel like you need to.
Yeah. I mean, he's still leading in target getter for wide receivers on that team.
And the final one, I don't know what you're going to say here, Trash Man. Somebody wants to drop Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Jeff Wilson. Can they do it?
Yes.